Welcome everyone to the Fall MAXI 2023. My name is Leanne Doyle and I serve on the Board of Directors. I'm joined by Courtney Lewis, President of the DMAW Board of Directors, and Crystal Poole, the Executive Administrator for the DMAW. We would like to welcome our team from American University. Before the team gets started, I would like to introduce our judges. We have 3 judges with us today: Aiden Wheeler from Simeo Cloud, Les Markman from PMG, and Marianne Chan from Fuse Fundraising. Judges, we will let University Team 2 get started now.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. We're American University Team 2, and this is our Children First, Patient Second campaign. Next, please. And here is the team. Next, please. To begin with a quick overview of the firm. So where we are now is that the firm has a large amount of donations coming from large corporations, as well as individual donors having donor tiers that allow them to donate different amounts of money each year. However, we decided to focus on the goal of increasing individual donors in the local DMV area because one of our own team members ourselves comes from the Bethesda area right around the end. Madison, do you want to speak on that and why we chose our goal?
Sure. So I went to school across from the inn, and a lot of local families don't have much recognition of the inn. I learned from friends who have volunteered there that it's a lot of international families. So we thought that it would be a great idea to focus our campaign on these local families and what they can do to support the inn.
Thank you, Madison. So the overall goal of our proposed campaign is to increase the number of local family and individual annual donors response rate by 5% by December 31st, 2024. This would increase local support, awareness, and engagement of the organization, creating annual donors and lasting brand relationships rather than one-time contributors. Next slide, please.
As for SWOT analysis, we wanted to identify some strengths within the inn's communication methods. So we saw that the inn identifies key original donors in their central messaging. They make a clearly visible email newsletter sign up on every single page of the website. They use individual children in their stories to call on the public's emotions. They have accessible annual reports on the financials from previous years. And they refer to past donors in price categories with honoring names for each category to make those donors feel very special. Some opportunities we noticed for the inn is that the oldest members of Generation X will be entering the retirement in coming years. So they will have a lot of extra time on their hands, a little bit of extra money, and they really want to help out children. Also, there are more hybrid and remote workers in the workforce. So these people have some extra time on their hands without the commute or anything. So they're able to go out into the community and give back.
For some weaknesses, COVID-19 had a very big effect on all nonprofit organizations because it created more demand and less fundraising and less volunteers. How it affected the inn specifically is that it affected their hashtag in 2025 strategic plan fundraising. The inn in 2018 announced this plan, and in the years of the pandemic and following the pandemic, there was a significant decrease in this fundraising. I'm pretty sure that they are still continuing on their goal of having it done by 2025. However, they will need to increase their fundraising a lot in the next few years to reach this goal of theirs. In 2022, they served 730 families, and they typically serve around 1,500 families. So we also see how COVID-19 decreased their ability to give resources and housing to these families as they normally do. There was also a decrease in post-pandemic local support, as in 2019, there were about 2,400 volunteers, and in 2022 there were only 169. So this is a huge drop, and volunteers in nonprofit organizations are vital to the process in getting work done, as they contribute as much as the workers do. As for threats, competitors are always a big threat. Similar local competitors, as I've listed here, people can donate to them and establish a relationship to them. So it's important for the inn to establish and communicate with people why they're unique and why they should support them instead of their competitors, as well as unforeseen economic and health crisis like we saw with COVID-19. Next slide.
So for our first audience segment, we have the DMV middle-aged adult. This is anyone who falls in the DMV area in the 29 to 60 age range. These people are local to the inn, so they feel like this problem is in their own backyard and they feel an urgency to help. The average DC household income is over $90,000. So these people do have a disposable income that they're looking to donate and to help with. They're aware of social problems and typically have progressive ideals, and it becomes a status symbol to donate to a local charity. So here we have Cynthia, who is the persona for this audience segment. She's a wife and a mother. She makes the after-school activity decisions for her children, and she's involved in a lot of like knitting clubs, takes cooking classes with her fellow McLean moms. So she's very involved in the community. As for our second audience segment, we have the DC young adult. This is anyone who falls in the DC area in the 21 to 28 age range. These people are new to earning an income, so they're exploring charities to become local to. The average DC base salary for an entry-level job with anything over a BA is $60,000. So these people do have somewhat of a disposable income. They're usually only financially responsible for themselves or possibly one other. So they want to give back somehow to something larger than themselves. And they're typically interested in health equity or other health-related issues. So here we have Matt as our persona for this age range. He works remotely and he lives with 3 friends in Logan Circle. He's a recent grad of UMD and he likes hiking in Northern Virginia. He likes supporting Maryland sports and doing some charitable work.
With the Children First, Patients Second campaign, we want to focus on the inn's ability to let kids be themselves and not just the condition that they're dealing with. So children can engage in arts and crafts at the inn, play on the playground, and enjoy other enriching programming experiences. Through these opportunities, children can be themselves through laughing, smiling, and continuing to enjoy their lives without being defined solely by their illness. We also wanted our campaign to focus on family and the importance of children being able to be with their loved ones rather than being stuck in a hospital. The creative that we have designed also focuses on playing into the emotional aspects of donors and volunteers, but not in a sad way. Instead, in a one that lets them know that by donating or giving their time, they can make a child's day a bit brighter and bring a smile to their face. Next slide, please.
As for our campaign tactics, we decided upon 3 deliverables. We have direct mail, email, and social media. For the direct mail deliverable, we will be sending postcards targeting local families in the 20814, 20817, and 20815 zip codes. This is Bethesda, North Bethesda, and Chevy Chase. The direct mail acquisition will have a tier donation suggestions that have different amounts of donations that people can choose. This plays off of anchoring effect and availability heuristic. There will also be a QR code for easy access. For the email campaign, we'll be sending periodic newsletters sent to subscribers, only those who have opted in to receiving these emails. There will also be clear calls to action based on a theme and timing. For social media, there will be increased brand engagement, recognition, donations, and volunteers.
The direct mail will be geared towards Cynthia in that 29 to 60 age range, and the email and social media will be geared towards Matt, the 21 to 28 age range.
As for our objectives, current direct mail house file response rate is 5%, and we aim to increase this to 6% in local families by December 31st, 2024. We also hope to increase the average gift amount for the direct mail from $25 to $40. This will be using the anchoring and availability heuristic as we discussed earlier. Current email response rate is 0.08%, and we aim to increase this to 0.16% by December 31st, 2024. And we hope to triple the number of volunteers from 2022 by December 31st, 2024. We decided upon the date December 31st, 2024, because it is the end of tax season and the last day that you can make tax write-offs. Next slide, please.
For our direct mail mock-up, we made a postcard-sized letter to send to surrounding families that we have previously outlined. In this, you can see that we have suggested different donation amounts, which are based on demographic, varying from a low of $40 to a high of $200. We have also included a QR code to make accessing the donation link easier and more direct for the audience members. We aim to increase the minimum donation amount from $25 to $40 and increase the local community's awareness of the inn and its benefits. The creative imagery here promotes the joy of allowing kids to be happy through the Children First, Patient Second campaign. Next slide, please.
We've also created a fully functional email newsletter, and this format allows for multiple clear and convenient calls to action to streamline the donation process, give more information, and provide a more immersive experience than print to people with demonstrated interest. Next, please. This September example leverages the tactics of timeliness and urgency. From our situation analysis, we found that the standard narrative around illness and cancer donations is that they're strictly for research or medical purposes, and we want to communicate the inn's mission and its uniqueness, which is where our campaign message, Children First, Patients Second, came from. We're appealing to both emotions using stories and personalization, such as mentioning Anna's favorite activity, and also logic, communicating how donating now will have the biggest impact since it's being matched in this campaign. Next slide, please.
With our social media ads, we wanted to make sure that our message played into the pathos and logos to appeal to the emotions of the targeted consumers. Therefore, we want to continue to emphasize family and the benefits of the inn for these families. These ads would be pushed, especially through from September through December, to ensure that we're promoting during National Giving Month, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and before the end of tax season. This would ensure that we reach our goal of increased donations, volunteers, and overall brand awareness. Next slide, please.
We also want to take advantage of social media as it's budget friendly and an opportunity to reach new audiences. So in this post, we also address this line about donating your money or your time, which addresses our point from the SWOT analysis about regaining volunteers, and overall have a qualitative and quantitative evaluation of our social posts. And the target audience, as Kalia mentioned, is our secondary target audience, which is young adults such as our persona Matt, who have income and are digital natives, which is why we chose Instagram over Facebook for this organic content. And overall, all of our creative mockups ensure a key aspect of omnichannel marketing, which is consistency and cohesion in both visuals and messaging, such as Children First, Patients Second. And this addresses our goals of differentiating the inn and increasing brand recognition to ultimately drive donations and volunteering. Please.
So for the budget, we have chosen to invest in 4 different types of marketing. That would be the direct mail acquisition, direct mail house file, email, and social media. So with the direct mail acquisition and house file test, you can see that we have higher returns here because we're targeting members of the local community as well as repeat donors with the direct mail house file test. And then with the email and social media, we are not having as much of like a high return because these people are coming from a list, so it's not as targeted as the direct mail is, but we still are hoping to attract a younger member to maybe volunteer with our email or social media ads. And we think that doing this will help to increase the inn's awareness among a younger demographic and hopefully create donor loyalty starting at a younger age that will continue for a longer period of time. Next slide, please.
In summary, the Children First, Patient Second campaign emphasizes the uniqueness, mission, and values of the Inn to increase donation and volunteer rates. Thank you so much for your time, and we would love to open the floor for any questions.
Very well done. Thank you. I want you to run my direct mail campaign, because if I could get those kind of results in acquisition, I would never have to work again. That's usually in our business, acquisition loses money and it's the investment to build the program, but it's a learning experience. So well done. How did you come about the audience segmentation of 29 to 60 and 21 to 28?
So we decided to choose one where people would be really just financially responsible for themselves, maybe starting a family, just getting into a career and living in that DC area, being in kind of like an urban population. And then one where people may have a family, and I'm not sure if any of you guys have kids, but your kids are coming home every day. Can you donate to this? I need money for this, money for this. And so that while those people have more money, maybe a higher income, they have a lot more things that they're already so involved with. Whereas the 21 to 28-year-olds are looking to really get involved in something. They just got their first income. They're very excited with all this new money, and they're looking for things to really get involved with. So the DC area, people are very involved in charities and very charitable, want to do good for their community. So we figured these people would want to get involved with the Inn, whether they can donate or not, they can go and donate their time. Young people are they have a lot of remote jobs or hybrid jobs. They have time on their hands, and they're also more local to the Inn, being near a metro stop, whereas some of the 29 to 60-year-olds in the DMV, they would have to get in their car and drive all the way over. So we were looking for them to maybe donate more than donate their time.
Thank you. Well said.
And I have a question also. Great job. I thought the presentation visually looked really clear and easy to understand. My question is about your email campaign. You mentioned, I think for the newsletter, that it was only going to go to people who were already subscribed to the Inn. Can you talk a little bit more about how specifically in terms of acquiring new donors you would use email if through the people who are subscribed already?
Yes, so our decision to stick to subscribers was mainly for like ethical reasons, but also and legal reasons, but also we want to be conscious of the fact that people are being very overloaded with information and advertising at all times, especially in the current media landscape. And we want to be conscious of the fact that there are some people who have already demonstrated interest, but may not be donors just because they have subscribed to the email newsletter. And so we want to focus on making that conversion and hone in on people who are more tech savvy, and particularly encouraging adults who would potentially be low to middle range donors and have them be inspired by bigger donors, while giving them a sense of urgency and also a sense of reward seeing these photos and these positive outcomes, and encouraging recurring donations since the newsletters serve as somewhat periodic reminders of the Inn's existence and what special events we have going on, such as campaigns for National Giving Month.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I thought you guys did a great job. I thought Children First, Patient Second is a great way to kind of drive at more personalized messaging in your creative throughout all the campaigns. So I thought that was a good idea. Two quick questions for you guys. On the local side of things, I know you guys are really kind of focusing on building a more local sort of audience and support for the Children's Inn at NIH. Did you find that the current donors to the Children's Inn at NIH are typically more local type donors, or did you see that there also are some donations coming from across the country or elsewhere, or sort of what was I guess sort of the thought process behind going for a more localized approach?
I think when we were beginning our research phase, we were looking a lot at the larger corporation side of things, and we felt as though they had a lot of support from those larger corporations, while they didn't have a lot of individual donors, and especially not recognizing them at a lower scale. There was a lot of donors that were like $2,000 and join this level. That's a lot more money, and most people can't afford to be paying that much every year. And so we wanted to recognize those and encourage those who maybe could give less and encourage them to still donate, because every dollar and every minute counts, which is why we also wanted to focus on volunteering for them. And then, as we discussed, Madison was giving us very good inside scoop of the area and what the scene is like there, which was really beneficial in how we came to that decision to hone in on the local scene.
That makes a lot of sense. And of course, when you do have sort of a small donor pool to start with, going for a more local audience makes a lot of sense. People who would already have kind of brand recognition. So that makes a lot of sense. And then just my second question for you guys is, did you consider at all, a lot of multi-channel campaigns in the industry today will sort of interweave using the different disparate channels, but basically play them off of each other and use them together, co-targeting direct mail with corresponding emails, things like that. Did you guys think of these channels kind of siloed from each other, or did you consider any ideas about integrating them together with your campaign?
Yeah, I think that we definitely wanted to have the as much of like an omnichannel marketing approach as we could, while also honoring the specific features and pros and cons of each different format. So instead of kind of having a one size fits all approach, we wanted to be able to take advantage of each aspect of each format. And we found that in terms of keeping consistency, we really found that we had that shine through the visuals and the campaign messaging. And our creative team, we worked together in this entire process to make sure that our messaging and visuals were aligned, while also not copy and pasting, because we want to honor our specific target audiences and take advantage of every feature that we could.
I have a question about your direct mail campaign in terms of the increase in average gift from 20, I think it was 25 to 40. Can you talk a little bit more about how, in terms of like coming out with the overall gross and eventually the net, how response rate might have taken or had an impact within that decision or within those calculations?
Sure. So for the direct mail, we had kind of talked about, based on the zip codes and the demographics that we were targeting, that we felt that increasing from 25 as a minimum to 40 would be pretty attainable, because we did choose zip codes in which, like Kalia mentioned in her target audience segments, those families are making have like a pretty sizable disposable income. And so when we factor that into our budget, we tried to keep our the return rate high, but we also wanted to make sure that we were providing these audience members a easy way to access the link and everything. So that's why we provided the QR code, just to make it more direct and not as unclear, and in which the donation amount that we'd be asking for. So I guess we didn't totally factor that into our budget, because we are still hoping that we achieve a 6% response rate with our direct mail. But I do think that targeting the local community members, especially that have that disposable income, $40 isn't asking for much more than 25.
Thank you.
I have just a brief question. I thought it was a great idea to not only look at raising money, but recruiting volunteers. Did you have a plan to, once you recruit volunteers, it's kind of like in any business, acquiring a donor, acquiring a volunteer, they're the best person to go back to then target them for fundraising, because now they're involved in the program and they're going to be more likely to give. So just curious about if that was part of the strategy.
I think that for volunteers specifically, we were hoping to gain a younger demographic of volunteers that have maybe just put their foot in the professional door and maybe don't have as much money to give at that time. But as they grow and grow their relationship with the firm, they can become donors. And I think what we would think about going forward is how to bridge that relationship and turn them from volunteers into donors without just asking them to give money blatantly. But I think that once they have an established relationship as a volunteer and we make them feel valuable and special to the team and to the firm, they will be more inclined to, as they gain more money, then be able to become donors as well.
In addition to that, when they sign up to be a volunteer, we'll have their email and can add them to that email list, which then they'll see those personalized stories from people that they have worked with at the inn, which is going to be even more attention grabbing and emotional for them to see someone that they've worked with personally pop up in their email with a story about them making a craft or having an extra night at the inn. So that'll really play on their emotions to donate after we get their email and can add them to that list.
Yeah, another thing that we had talked about was also with like all of the corporations.
So I'm gonna have to wrap up right there. It is time for us to wrap up, and I would like to thank American University for serving as presentation number 2 today. I'd also like to thank our judges for being here with us, Aiden, Les, and Marianne, on behalf of the DMAW EF Board of Directors. Thank you for serving as judges. American University, you are free to go. Remember that we will be sharing the results of the competition on Monday, and judges, you may remain in the meeting and turn off the audio and video so you can score the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.